All right, guys, welcome to this episode of the Inside Dirt Show, and we're joined today with Blake Williams, aka Bilko.
Yeah, it's kind of weird now when I fill in forms and stuff, and it's Blake Williams, and then most people don't even know that name.
No.
So
Well, you did a good job of branding yourself as Bilko.
yeah, I mean it worked, but pretty much since I was 15, no one's called me anything different. So
You were Blake a long time ago. We'll get to pre-Bilko days.
yeah, we'll get to that.
But what's been happening, man?
I mean, obviously not a lot with everything that's happening. I've been in the performing industry. Everything has gone
To a standstill, yep.
Yeah, so Nitro Circus tour got cut short in Australia and America got postponed. So just kind of waiting on that and seeing what happens. But I got a driving simulator over here in Oz because I had one in America, and that's pretty good way to burn about 8 hours a day when you just sit there and just punch gears all
Waiting
day.
to pass the time. Yeah, that stuff looks... I'm not going to pretend I know heaps about it, but... was actually just talking then because I was doing something with Recoverate and the E Series and Will Davison because you did the celebrity race
I did
the other night, right?
They must have invited D-list celebrities, so I made that status. But
oh, come on.
So it was actually pretty cool. Yeah, Chad was in there. Dan Reardon was actually the fastest guy out of everybody and was doing doing lap times as fast as they did in the race they had last time. So
could be a future for Riodo there racing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. I mean, damn, I did the Bathurst 3000 in the week leading up, just lap after lap after lap every day. So but it's like I said, that pretty much took up a whole week of when you've got so much downtime. That was amazing. But yeah, just driving that thing it's pretty fun. And
because you do a lot of driving in the States, right?
I do a fair bit. I wouldn't say a fair bit, but Yokohama, they were a partner with Nitro Circus, and then myself and Travis Pastrana were brand ambassadors for Yokohama. So they've sent us on some. It's more like fun content race stuff. It's not like actual official racing, like anything cool. But I wouldn't say anything cool. Sorry, I wouldn't say anything like official.
Official, yeah,
like an Indy car race or anything like. It's nothing like that. It's we just do events. Pikes Peak hill climb, which is pretty gnarly. Driving a Porsche up the side of a mountain.
Is that the one you and Travis did recently? I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're driving up the side of the Colorado Rockies, climbing to 14,000 feet with your foot to the floor, with no guardrails, and yeah, it's pretty intense.
That's sick.
It's about 156 corners, and a lot of them look identical to each other. And yeah, you want to go as fast as you possibly can, but at the same time, yeah, the mistakes aren't really tolerated.
No, not in those cars either, right?
No, I mean, you got a roll cage, but that's what Travis said. You give a freestyle motocross rider a roll cage, they think they're invincible.
Bad idea.
It's a bad idea, but, I had him covered. I was fast today. I had him covered. I was going to smoke him, but...
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience. I wasn't sure. I mean, Travis kind of dips in and out of the rally thing. I didn't know if... They don't do that at X Games anymore, do they?
No, they got rid of... They got pretty much rid of everything.
Yeah.
X Games has kind of...
Changed a lot, hey?
Changed a lot. Ever since it left Los Angeles, and even the last couple of years in Los Angeles when it went indoors just to Staples Center, and like you rock up to ride freestyle motocross and there's two 75-foot ramps and a dirt hit and you run rides around in a figure eight, it just got boring.
Yeah, I think, and that's something I want to chat about more, to span your career. I mean, we could be here for days talking about it play by play, but, you're an interesting one to me in the sense that I honestly feel... Travis is Travis. I don't think you could compare him to anybody.
Yeah, he's in a league of his own. I mean, it sucks now when you look at like medal counts. No disrespect to Jared McNeil. He's amazing. He's awesome. He's got, 4 or 5 best whip golds. He's got 4 or 5 step up golds.
Yeah, he's been on a run the last few years.
So right now, I think in the charts, he has more gold medals than anybody in they call it the Moto X history.
Really? Yes. He's at that point now.
I think he's there, or he's basically tied or whatnot. But in saying that, yeah, it's incredible what he does. But the one for me that's the hard one to get is freestyle motocross. Like its best trick is gnarly, but freestyle motocross is that was the holy grail for a long time. And I think the point I was going to make is that if you look at Travis, he's been Travis since he was 14, 12, whatever the Terra Firma videos were back in the day when even we were younger. Growing up,
but you've had a career that spanned, you caught the glory days of the Krusty Tour, or at least, 05, 06.
05 was my first year, and then we did a lot of indoor. I probably did over 100 shows with Krusty, and then
you you've caught the Nitro entire journey of Nitro Circus.
I've been there start to finish. I've done more shows than anyone.
There you go. And then you've got X Games where you've had a lot of success at the competition side. So I guess what I'm getting at is when most freestyle guys have a shelf life, they come and go.
Yep.
You've managed to catch the glory days. You've gone through the competition days.
Yeah, I mean, if I was smart about things and didn't throw it all on the line at too many occasions, I wouldn't have certain injuries, and I would have probably spanned my competition days
a lot longer.
But yeah, now I got to the point at the end of 2012 or 13, and double backflips were around in a contest run, and I'm like, look, I've gone through hell and high water. I've landed without my motorcycle several times. And legs have just gone tink, snap, clink, bang, bend. And
you've had some serious injuries.
Yeah, so after that, I was like, I've done all this stuff in the foam pit. I've landed a bunch of new tricks over the last 4, 5, 6 years that no one's done. And then do I want to keep doing that? Do I want to punish myself? If I added a double flip to my run, it's probably would have maybe from a 7th, 6th place guy to maybe just scrape on the podium. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just...
Risk reward.
Yeah, let's just do shows and have fun with it, because I don't really want to land upside down a foam pit 35 times and then land a double flip 20 times and then go do it at a contest in another country on a borrowed bike somewhere.
That's the thing for me nowadays with freestyle is like the risk reward is just... It's not what it used to be, I don't think. I mean, maybe for the top guys it still is. I'm not really aware of like the competition deal,
pool,
but
like contests, there's absolutely nothing. Like back when I was competing, we had 5 rounds of the Duo Action Sports Tour.
Yeah,
and then
X Fighters.
There's X Fighters. I only caught the last bubble of X Fighters that sucked. I didn't really get invited till 2010. And then I had just a bad year from there out.
And they finished in 12 was it, or 11?
Yeah. They turned down to one event by the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it was only a select few riders that did it the whole time. So
maybe you had the wrong color helmet on.
Yeah, potentially. But I did. It wasn't until I won X Games that I finally got invited, which was kind of sucked. They invited me in 2007, but then the next day, or a few hours later that day, is when I smashed my ankle to pieces.
Yeah, righto.
So if I had gone on board with them then, like once you're in with them, you're in. I probably could have done it from 2007 onwards, but that's when I really learned a lot about riding a 250 4-stroke and traveling around and elevation. And
we'll get into that, but I still can't believe that you were riding them 250 Hondas the way you were.
Yeah, it was a roll of the dice.
Dave Dawes has been putting a bunch of them throwbacks up on YouTube, and it was the 07 Do Tour where you where you did your
my ankle. I got second place and I smashed my ankle to pieces.
And you look at the practice footage, even the comp footage you had, and it's just raw sound, and everyone's like, and you're just,
the 85-foot dirt double. I left the lip on the rev limiter.
Everyone's getting all this pop on the 2 strokes, and you're just kind of blowing through because you're hitting them so fast, but then doing 3s and just.
That was a good. I think at that point, that was when I was just overconfident and I didn't really care, and I just knew I could do it, and then it ended in tears.
That's an interesting one for me too, though, with you, because not like you and I have spent a crazy amount of time together over the years, but I've known you since way back when.
12, 13, so, we raced 80s.
That's it.
Yeah.
And there's 2 sides to you. There's like public Bilko.
There's smart, calculated, stupid, risky.
That's what I'm saying. Is like a balance. It's like if you met you at a show and you're bouncing around and doing your thing and sending big tricks,
that's
you're
show
like,
mode.
Yeah, you're like, that guy's crazy, but then if you meet you in a room, like,
I'm sensible.
Yeah,
what he's trying to say is I'm sensible.
I guess there's you've done well at establishing that persona, and then I think you've done well at, and
it's not something like I tried to play up to. It's just when I'm in there and there's a crowd there, I just generally get excited.
It's part of the show. It is what it is.
Yeah, what pushes you to do that is crowd motivation, or the recognition, or being the first person to do something and stuff like that. And I use that to fuel a lot of the stuff I did over the years. So
you need it because the stuff you're doing, you got to get fired up for.
Yeah, you can't just think, block everything out. Like, you're thinking about the people in the crowd, you're thinking about the judges, you're thinking about your score, you're thinking about everything. And I'm not going to go out and half do things if yeah, that's not going to get you anywhere if you just come out with no energy and half do it.
Nah, and that was, especially in the early days of freestyle, that was half the deal, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, but some of those courses are so sketchy. Just like the landings were, if you parked up on top of them, like they were a bike width wide. I'm like, how am I going to 360 this thing? So I usually drift like 4 to 6 feet to the side, and I'm like trying to line up which jump I can actually 360 because the landings are like a pyramid, just. It's like a triangle shaped landing. It's not even enough room to park sideways on top of it.
Those dew tour rhythms, like, you know, I had nothing in comparison to you, but I did a few years in the States doing like the freestyle thing. And Brody Wilson, I lived at his place for a summer. And that was back in 08. That's when Dew Tour was, and Brody was going to Dew Tour. And
there's one a month,
Yeah, and so he built a couple of different...
the step-on, step-off was...
He built the elevated step-on, step-off, and it had 120-foot
to go off. To the big landing,
Yeah, and he built a 75 to an 85 ramp to dirt.
Yep.
And the transition was like, the up ramp was at the bottom of the landing.
Yep.
And, you know, like I said, I wasn't at the level you guys are at with freestyle, but I could ride a bike pretty good. And I wanted no part of either of those. I was just like, that is, you know, flipping in, flipping out. You'd be doing threes in and flips out or whatever. Like,
I just showed up and went, all right, here we go. That's what the course is. Everyone else has got to ride it. And then, I was too naive to the consequences of what could happen. I just said, we're gonna send it all. And
well, I just don't think people realize how gnarly that stuff was.
Yeah, they had a bit of a riders union going for a bit. I think Andre Villa was a main part of it, but trying to have like an actual gap between jumps.
Yeah, because like a set gap.
Yeah, like between the landing and the next takeoff, because there's been so many times, like Levi Sherwood broke his femur at the thing in Southern California because he hit neutral when he landed, and then as he went to, you basically land on the down ramp.
Yeah.
But when we land stuff, it's usually we've just put our hands back on the bars and our feet back on the pegs. Like if you just supercross rode a freestyle course, it's kind of easy. Like Hanny makes it look effortless because he just jumps, whips it, lands. But that way, your eyes are always pointing forward. You can already line up the next jump before you even landed. But if you're doing a flip, you can't see the next jump.
You're blind.
If you're doing a flip combo, your hands aren't on the bars, and then all of a sudden you've got to grab your handlebars, or if you're doing an upright trick, your feet and your hands aren't on until the second you land. And like if you're bringing your feet back from a weird position, that's when you can tap the shifter, put it into false neutral, and
it's just there's no time. I remember Villa getting caught trying to jump off. And
he ended up trying to flip a ramp. We had little foot hooks back in the day before we hooked our shifter, and his foot was hooked in, and he actually landed that hard. He kind of sat down between the jump, and it wasn't enough time, and he didn't stand up before he went to his run. Was he was going to flip the next jump, but he was half sitting down, so he got no rotation, and next thing you know, he's upside down halfway through the air, and he tried to jump off, but his foot was still under his foot hook.
Yeah, I remember that video of him just kind of...
It was like a big old stretch out, and then he's...
Just landed upside down.
As soon as his foot was still under the shifter, he did a full stretch out and then just stopped there and then stayed with the motorcycle and landed upside down with the bike on top of him.
That was his femur, right? But
yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Like I said, I don't want this to go all day, but
I smoked you on 80s.
Actually, we can talk about that,
faster, actually.
No, well, so... when we really spent some time together was when you came to stay to the UK, yeah. And for those of you listening to this that don't know, I'm from the UK originally, so I just remember, it's funny, things you remember from being a kid. I think I was 12, maybe 13. Yeah, so you'd have been like 15. Yeah, you're a few years older than me. And when I lived in Oz, I remember you being around, but I don't really remember...
I wasn't really that fast. When you were in Oz, I wasn't really that fast.
Yeah.
And I was getting there. But yeah, I came over and did the British Junior Nationals.
But I got home from school one day and it was before cell phones and, and it was, you had the old answering tapes on the landline.
Yeah.
And it was, I think your dad. And it was like, oh, g'day, it's Tom Williams, got your number. And we were hoping to come over to do some racing.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't, Dad's organised everything back then.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
next minute,
no clue.
Yeah, you guys rocked up and you rode one of my 85s and we did the first round of the UK Nationals. And
pulled a whole shot in the first race.
You did, you whole shot the first race.
I went straight through the massive puddle at the end of the straight just to make sure I just destroyed everyone with mud. So
yeah, because we had Jim Moreau, which was like 85 king when I was a kid.
Bacon by Honda.
There you go. You got a good memory. I was going to say how much of that trip do you remember? But
I remember a fair bit because it changed locations like 3 or 4 times because of the weather or something.
That's right. And we ended
up next to a pig farm.
Yeah, we were at Finningley in Doncaster, and it was that sand track.
Yeah, then the start straight had like a swamp halfway down. It's like if you don't get a good start, you're screwed. And
Or because you whole shot the first moto, then I whole shot the last moto on the Sunday.
The puddle was gone by then, though.
Yeah, I think it didn't matter by that point, but yeah.
I went from whole shot to down in the first corner in the second race, and I went from the starting first to starting last.
Yeah, that's right. No, I just remember getting in from the first moto, and Dad was just ripping me. I think I finished 10th or something. I'm crying, and Dad's just losing his mind, and he's like, "He whole shot. He hadn't been beer before, you know." Yeah, you beat me in every moto that weekend, I think.
Oh no, maybe not the last one.
What? I can't remember. But yeah, anyway, that was a cool trip. But that kind of got the whole. Obviously, we got to know each other a bit there, and you guys stayed with us for a few weeks. And from there, I guess I always was fascinated with your journey as far as because back in that day, like early mid 2000s, the guys at X Games and that it wasn't as accessible as it is now. You know what I mean?
No, it was a huge deal, but it was just there was so little people doing it that it had. I mean, it had definitely kicked off as far as the X Games sport, but it was Twitch was around then, but you had Deegan Pastrana, Kenny Bartram, and
those guys were like legendary.
Yeah.
And I could never. It wasn't. You just couldn't relate to it. But I guess because I knew you from being a kid, and then the next time I remember us hanging out was. I come back out here in 03 when my family were thinking about moving back out here, and I think I stayed at your house for a night and we hung out or whatever. But this always sticks out in my mind too. You had a broken leg at the time. I think you were still racing. That's right.
Yeah,
you were on the Yami 250s. But you showed me these VHS cassette tapes that you'd made. It was like you, Brent Landman, Sinks.
Yeah. Would have been Damn Jumping.
Damn
Revelation 186.
Yeah.
If you can check it out on iTunes, it's never to be released because I'm not going to afford the music rights that I put on the video back then.
It had some good music. It was like all the Simple Plan.
Sum 41. Yeah. It's a good video. I still play it to this day. You're not putting revs on again. I'm like,
Pop punk era.
Yeah. I'm like, this is me and me heyday, babe. Me and me mates we were the maddest dudes around. Look at us damn jumping.
And you, but I guess that's, you were doing flips on the BMX, on the pushes into the dam and people are watching and I remember watching, and where I grew up in the UK, completely different world to what you were doing in those videos. So you actually gave me a couple of them to come home with and I'm like watching them and sounds dumb. I'd be like watching it like, like you'd watch a Terra Firma or whatever, you know? But that's led into you doing what you do now, I'd say. Like that was the beginning a little bit,
I enjoyed that side of it so much. I enjoyed racing, but kind of when I turned senior, I mean, the world was against me. Not anything with racing was. It's just like when I turned 16, I was still the size of a 12-year-old. And you turned to senior motocross and like supercross. I could jump, no way. As soon as I got to the whoops, the bike could manhandle me. Like you have to be strong enough to.
And back in them old 250F days when they were big and heavy.
But I could jump anything. Like second lap of practice, I'd jump the triple, kind of like Danny Anderson used to just ride out, just jump every rhythm, jump everything, and just have no problem doing it. And then you had like Boca on his 125 just ringing its
on
neck
the Kato, it was
just to get over any jump. And so but I had great natural jumping ability from riding BMX, but I just didn't have the strength. I was like a child on a racing against men. So I just stuck with my apprenticeship and raced supercross mainly. I did one motocross national. I think it was at Horsham, obviously because it was a local round. Yeah, if you call Horsham local. But the only Victorian
local enough,
yeah. So that was the only Australian motocross national I did, and I got absolutely waxed. Like I was probably 20th to 30th or something.
Yeah, so I just wasn't, because I was going to ask that. Like I remember your supercross days, like with was it the Powerhouse Honda?
Yeah, we had Powerhouse Kawasaki, and then the Honda, and then Honda actually gave us like manufacturer support, so that was awesome. But, it started off. I just go along with Cam, and then ride my Yamaha and whatever, and I could jump everything that good people were, but just like I said, I was a kid against men. So, but then we started doing the freestyle shows, and that's how I met Jono. And so I'd end up, he's like, "Don't do the expression session at halftime." I'm like, "I'm not really that good enough. I got like 2 tricks." He's like, "Yeah, it's alright. I've only got 4." Just,
So that would have been like what, like 04?
2003. I did a couple when I was on my Yamaha, but I was basically a full-time dedicated apprentice, and I was just going away on the weekends having a bit of fun. And then 04. And 05, like I had my mini bikes and I was racing mini bikes flat out and just basically doing supercross and then like the monster truck shows and freestyle. And don't even think I rode a motocross track, but even through my whole career as racing motocross, even in juniors, I never really practiced.
No.
Like I'd go to Mosix maybe once, twice a year.
Really? I thought you were more into it than that.
I was into it, but like we didn't have anywhere to ride at home. I ended up having a few jumps and stuff. And
Well, you had the little soupy track, and what was the cow? That was it.
There's Suki. There was a couple.
Yeah,
Plop.
Cow used to have in the.
Yeah. What was his name?
I just remember hitting golf balls at it one day.
What?
Yeah.
You hit golf balls on my cow.
You were with me.
Messed up. I wouldn't have had nothing to do with that. Nah. But yeah, I obviously had a nice 1973 model Ford backhoe, mate. The thing was sick. It was about 6 times longer than any backhoe these days, but yeah, and the bucket.
It did the job.
Yeah. So I built, a lot of supercross
jumps,
gnarly jumps, and then, so basically from when I was on my 80 days, I didn't have a motocross track, but it basically had a BMX dirt park in the back. I wouldn't say that, but like gnarly steep jumps for an 80cc.
Yeah.
So when I went to a supercross, like I just roll out and everything was, to me was, I wouldn't say easy, but like I was one of the first person to jump people. But as far as like raw speed and talent, I wasn't in one of the fastest guys never.
You had a BMX background too, right?
Yeah. So, but I just see a jump and look to the side, size it up. That was the scariest thing, was jumping the double or the triple on an 85, because
you don't want to go long or short.
Yeah, you go too far, you land on the base of the triple, but you can't. Once you turn the corner, you can't even see where you're aiming up to land because the up ramp's so tall and the landings are so short.
Well, to this day, I hate doubling triples because it's just yeah.
I'd rather just send it and flat land the triples.
It's normally my go-to first time, just off the seat.
Flat land and then work your way back. It's a lot better than coming up short.
Oh, man. So, like you said, apprentice, you were doing the supercross thing, doing the expression sessions. Where did that, because I
spiral out of control?
Yeah, a little bit, but what was it, 04 you had the first flip?
04, yeah. I mean, that was one of the biggest things, because
you just posted that on your Instagram the other day.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. It was a bit of a throwback, had a massive long story to it, so most people probably didn't click on the caption, read all of it. But it was the start of 04. We did that. Was when they had the SEL Supercross Nationals,
right? Which
was an awesome series for Australia.
I remember watching that in the UK randomly. It was, I don't remember how I saw it, but that's when you were on Hondas, but obviously
no, it was Cowie. 04 was
it Cowie?
Yeah. Because we were a powerhouse Cowie, me and Cam, and then I won my semi. I beat Ryan Marmont, had him covered. Won my semi.
No biggie, yeah.
And then but like I said, I got it, kind of got lucky, got a good start, and in the final, that's when the first time I think they had whole shot bonuses for the races, and Cam was in like gate 10 on the very outside, and he got a bit of a jump, and he just held that thing wide and just had no chance of making the corner.
But he took the whole shot.
He crossed the line first, and he got the whole shot bonus. I'm like, where were you going, mate? You ended up in the fence. He's like, yeah, but the whole shot was there, so I just went for it. And then I ended up getting fourth, and then the next week was Townsville, and I broke both my wrists. So, my bike was busted up I bent the clamps, busted a radiator. Someone else rode over it or landed on it.
Yeah.
But just went straight in the back face of the triple because I hit first gear on that takeoff.
That'll do it.
And just both arms were snapped. I remember getting the ambulance. I walked over to some MA official and he's like, "You're all right." I'm like, "Can you take me helmet off?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I just lift up my arms and one had like 2 square edge marks in it where my bones were completely dislodged, and then the other one was just big, like fat and rounded off.
Yeah.
But obviously both broken. I'm like, yeah, because I can't use my hands at the moment, mate. He's like, oh, and he freaked out. I'm like, just take my helmet. It was Townsville, and it was January. It was so freaking hot. As hell, I couldn't even wipe the spread off my forehead when my helmet come off because my arms
just sting in with your eyes shut. Yeah.
And so, it was pretty cool. And then when I left, the dude at the airport told me to take my belt off. I'm like, mate, can you just wave your little wand over it? Like, I set the metal detector off. So what? I got 2 casts on my arms. I clearly can't really take my belt off. My pants are probably going to fall down. Got my mum with me. She's going to hold my pants up while I walk through the x-ray machine because of my belt.
Would have been back in the day when baggy jeans were a thing.
Oh, too. Yeah. I probably had, size 32 Dickies on, just killing it.
Started belt, yeah.
But after that, I didn't ride my big bike for over 6 months. It's not that I didn't want to ride it or like the injury. It's because most people, like, if an injury messes them up, they don't want to get back on the bike. Yeah. I wanted to, but like I said, I didn't even fix my bike for a couple of months. I was just
rehabbing, yeah.
And then I was going because that Supercross series was basically one every weekend, bar a couple of weekends off. So I'd still go with Cam and go and see everyone and watch all the riding. I did a bit of a commentating for that, and then Yeah, after I just was riding my mini bike and having some fun, but going to work like 6 days a week.
Doing the work in life.
Yeah.
Because what are you, diesel mechanic, right?
Fitter and turner.
Fitter and turner.
And that's when the 50s started booming and everyone was bending their frames and forks, and I just started fixing them at work, and I was just had a little side business.
Yeah,
just
you
working
did.
Saturdays.
Oh, really?
I was making
hustling 50 parts.
Yeah, making chrome moly fork legs and cutting people's frame and putting a strengthening tube in it so that thing wouldn't rake out. Yeah, 100 kilo dudes riding a kid's bike and they'd all just bend. So,
but let's talk about that flip, because back in '04.
probably about, I think we're in like maybe the top 20, first 20 people.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been a whole bunch of guys doing them yet.
No.
So, and there was no foam pit, no nothing.
Nah,
you just went and did
I'd done it on a mini bike. I'd BMX into water. I'd done it on a mini BMX to dirt. I'd done it on a mini bike to dirt.
Oh, I remember you doing them in dirt on the 50.
Yeah.
It was in one of them VHSs.
Yeah, I did about 35
And it was,
or something. And
that ramp was the most ghetto thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was sweet. Yeah, Cam built it. Yeah.
Yes, straight up.
Yep. So
Yeah, because
weren't
weren't you and Cam trying to do it at the same time? Or
Yeah, well, that's funny because we went out to the place in South Morang and I had my 50 and he'd been talking about flipping for ages and he had a few failed attempts. And I had my 50 because I've just been riding it and just, hitting 35-foot gaps off a freestyle ramp. Thinking I was mad on my mini bike. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll throw my boots in. And then he sized it up for a bit. I'm like, give me your bike. Let me ride it for a bit. And I hadn't ridden for 6 months. And I jumped on his bike, hit a couple of ramps, and I started sizing up the flip ramp because I had hay bales on the landing. And then I was doing it in second, and it kind of was too boggy, and I committed, but it was like right, and then I just looped out and chucked it. And so I tried first gear, and then so I went and ran in first gear a few times. And like, you know what, here we go. And then did one, and they're like, yeah, and they all come running to like grab me when I stopped, and I just took off again. And then they're like, what? We come to give you props, and then like Bronte and Bilko were like, ah, and I just said, no, like if I've done one, I'm going back to back.
Do another one,
Yeah, well, not going to stop and let everything slow down. Then turn around, did 2, 3, 4, and then then I stopped.
Yeah. So that's on YouTube, that VHS? Did you say?
Yeah, that my first flips were on YouTube, but it worked. Came around.
Yeah.
So it was a standard ramp jacked up at like
That's
40 something feet. So. I mean, you had to give it a good tug, especially on the 250F, because you're coming in with a lot of speed, and then
them 250 cowies back in the day were pretty
no, mine was all right.
Carby.
Yeah, they were carby actually. Yeah,
both Suzuki and Cowie were the same bike. Do you remember?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, Hondas were the
mate.
classic Honda Bog. They were the worst.
Yeah, I remember racing them back in the day.
Yeah,
drilling holes in this carby slide and putting fish wire in to try and keep it open a little bit so it didn't bog.
Take the metal plate out the bottom. Put the float level so high that if you put it on a triangle stand, fuel pours out. So.
Everything in between. So, all right, the mini bike craze takes off. Then you guys get on Krusty, right? Doing the mini bike show.
Yeah, that was that same year. It was 04.
Yeah.
I think it was after that tour. Yeah, because Nate's on the jersey. He's like, keep flipping, because I was flipping me mini bike off the back of the landing. He's like, keep flipping. I bet he wishes he didn't say that then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was 04. And like I said, that was when I wasn't riding big bikes yet. As I said, not that I didn't want to, but just working. And then the Krusty tour came along. It was only 3 shows. It was Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. And I went to the Melbourne one, obviously, being the first one. And flipped me mini on the backside of the landing. And like, yeah, we're using the show. I'm like, oh, this is sick. And got to meet all those guys and half hang out. Like, I wasn't one of the cool kids back then.
No, I mean, that would have been the glory days when it was like,
Yeah, that was when it was like a rock star tour then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like Motley Crue coming to town. But I
remember, you got that photo of you with, I think, Twitch or something, and you're just,
just like
little Bilko with your beanie on. And yeah.
So that was good. And
Did you think then that you would be
no
you are now?
No idea. But like, I mean, I just loved watching it and the show and the atmosphere. And then, but still at the time, I just was like, I'm going to be a pump mechanic my whole life. So I just kept going back to work and then just riding in the meantime. And then,
So it happened pretty organically. I guess what I'm getting, I thought it was for some reason, because you came to England to race and stuff, and I always, only times I would see you as a kid were like on TV if we had something in Europe for you doing Supercross, and I was like, I thought you were a lot more into it than you were.
I was, but like, I mean, I rode Supercross mainly. Motocross didn't really care about. I mean, I did it like 16, 17, did the state titles, but that was still in B grade then, so it was good. But like I said, you go A grade when you're the size of a 12-year-old.
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I gave up on it. But I didn't practice. I didn't ride. I just worked, and then I rode my Supercross track in the backyard. So Supercross for me was easy.
Second nature.
And then 05 was when me and Cam would just go in the same van. We'd go do the Supercross on the Saturday night. We'd stick around and do the monster truck show on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And make good money for both, doing the expression session and the monster truck show, plus riding 50s at the same event.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was. For 05 was probably the funnest year ever. Just
because it was new and fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any decent results in Supercross in 05, but I mean, I got 2 fourths in 04, but that's for eight rider grid in the best in Australia. Making the finals pretty
cool. Yeah,
it's pretty reasonable for me. So I was never going to make it as a factory race. I didn't have the speed for one, and I also just had that mentality that I was just going to work.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting to me that, I don't know, I guess, like I said, outside looking in, I thought you were a lot more involved in the sport than that as far as at a racing level. Because I know, and we'll talk about this in a sec, but you had Cade Mosick, Brent Lamman, factory racers and Bronte.
Yeah.
All guys that we grew up racing with over here that went on to have factory rides. And I guess because you were in that clique, I kind of thought you were more...
Yeah, I mean, I was into it, but I didn't go pound out motocross motos like 2
You didn't quit school and...
No, I did. I just stuck with my job. I just thought that was my career path. I didn't have... I had natural ability, but I didn't have, like I said, the strength to I could have, maybe by the time I was 19, 20, I could have had a shot. Like if I developed and actually grew into a man's body.
I mean, I think the way you did it was a smart way, as in you were, you were aware of where you were at.
Yeah, I mean, I quit my job, and 6 months later, I did my first X Games and got a bronze medal.
That's what. All right, so I want to talk about the South Side and everyone you grew up with a little bit more in a minute. But how does rolling around in a high ace, in the race ace, doing the expression sessions and the monster jams and still working a full-time job, how do you go from that in 05 to doing a cliffhanger flip in 06 and getting a medal at X Games?
It's like the end of 05, and there was a dude in Terrell Carl, he's an awesome bloke, and he had a foam pit down there, and we're just like, I'll come give it a crack, and just started, as you do, you're like, what tricks do you do up the right way? Can you do them upside down? And I was like, no, you won't do a cliffhanger. I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And then within 3 jumps, I was like fully stretched.
Fully extended.
And then, so I kind of used that to get me into some contests in America. There was like 3 of them. And at the start of the year, the IFMA. So you did a few of them, I think. Yeah,
I did. I think they were a show by the time I did them, but I think when you did them...
It was like a...
Was it scripted like when I did them, when you did them?
You got start money, but it's still a contest. If you won the doubles contest and you won the night, you'd walk away with good money, but you were still getting paid either way.
Yeah.
But it was a contest thing. So I did 3 of those.
That's right. I forgot you did the IFMAs.
I did 3, but the second one had a double. It's the first time I've ever hit a double.
Yeah.
And I never, when I do a 360 or a flip, I never have my fingers on the clutch because I did it once this time. And as you lean back and pull on the handlebars, I pulled the clutch in.
Yeah,
and if for those of you who don't know, to get a motorcycle to rotate, you don't need sheer arm strength. You don't need huge arms. You just need to accelerate off the ramp.
The wheel has to keep spinning.
Yeah, and the drive off the ramp, it's like doing a wheelie on flat ground. If you wheelie off the ramp, it'll spin around. But if you pull the clutch in,
it's not going to.
It's not going to drive forward. It's not going to rotate the bike. And I didn't know. And you did a double knack, fingers on the clutch, so you can get back on the bike. And then landed and just went, and just hit the thing to flip. And I'm like, I'll do that into a whip flip, and just pulled the clutch in off the ramp. And
just nothing.
Yeah, and as I come around, I think I put one arm out, and I landed my front fender and my arm at the same time, trying to go put my hand out to save myself. But basically landed my front fender and just, we'd walked away from it. But that was the first time I hit a double. That was a sobering lesson.
Yeah, it was... It was an interesting time there I think, because the IFMA in the glory days in the early 2000s was like a legit contest tour.
Yeah, it was fun. Like Mason was on there, Adam Jones, guys like that, Bamberg. So anyway, I did those 3 contests, and then I had the.
So that was after X. Was that before X?
Before
X,
I had the cliffhanger. But I only done it in foam by then.
Yeah.
But the guy said you might be worth a best trick invite, and I actually went to Travis's between those shows. And I was doing it in his foam pit, and his dad was blowing up like ringing Travis saying, "Oh, this dude got some kid down here jumping in the foam pit doing a cliffhanger flip. What you pussies been doing the whole time?" Oh no, he's just carrying on.
Just being his dad, yeah.
Yeah, and then so like he was at Bartram's house. The next thing they got in the foam pit, and he was ringing me the next day, and I never met. I don't think I'd met him.
How'd you get out there? If you're on the East Coast doing the IFMAs, then
I was
you'd have
staying with
been
Mad Mike.
up in PA.
Yeah, so he took.
Dude,
me
I've
down
got
there.
some Mad Mike stories,
Yeah,
man.
there's way
My
too many.
goodness.
But yeah, so like he took me to Travs, and I was on his KX 250, and I was doing cliffhanger flips in the pit, and yeah, his dad was just ringing Travis, and he was at Bartram's joint. And the next day they're in the foam pit, and he's sending me pictures and videos and telling me to explain it how I do it because he can't figure it out for the life of him. I'm like, oh mate, it's easy. You just jump off and slap your feet on the forks and
Just typical Aussie way. Just do it,
all
mate.
you do is just hit the ramp, jump off, and catch the handlebars with your feet. What's the big deal? But yeah, I look at it now. Like I used to let go of my hands before my feet were clamped. So
I remember like that one at X was because, like I said, you didn't see anything back in the day. There was no socials,
Yeah,
and then I just
nothing.
remember catching that on TV and being like, number one, holy shit, that's Bilko.
yeah,
And then number two, like you were vertical. I mean, up and down.
I've got some good pictures that one.
Yeah.
It was straight up and
Like-
down. So that's the way you want to do it, especially when you come to X Games. And I was like, oh, I wasn't sure about this guy, especially with his noisy bike, because I was the only 4-stroke in the whole stadium.
Yeah, everyone else is on the two bangers. And
Yeah. And then, so that was interesting, yeah. So I got the X Games invite, and then I got there, and I didn't really think much of it, and did my thing. I ended up tied for third, and I was tied for second, and then Travis did his double, which was speechless back then.
Yeah, that was.
So the whole stadium went mental. Like, they did a standing ovation for like 15 minutes. Well, like, deserved it, but that whole time I was still tied for third, and I'm like, do I get a medal? I don't. Am I third or am I fourth?
What do I
like,
get?
what's the
Yeah.
tiebreaker? And no one could tell me because everyone was just speechless with what Travis did. And I'm like, yeah, they're like, good job, man, you did sick. I'm like, do I get a medal or not? Because there's a huge difference between third and fourth.
Yeah, as
Well,
far as like bonuses.
No, I
and-
wasn't even thinking about the bonus. I'm like, it's a podium or it's fourth place, which I've finished fourth many times, and it's the worst spot. Yeah, I'd rather finish last than fourth.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's
Yeah,
like,
but I'm like, can someone please just inform me of the situation? Like, how do you get rid of the tiebreaker? Like, or do we both get medals? Am I getting a medal, or am I? Because if I'm not getting a medal, I'm going home. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
what's the go? Yeah.
And it was literally about 40 minutes of just scrambling and everyone, praising Travis like he deserved. But I was, in myself, I was like, and they're like, yeah, you got it, you got a third, you got an X Games medal, and I'm like, oh yeah. And it didn't really sink in for a little bit longer. Like, dude, you came here as a rookie and you got a medal. Like all these Americans have been doing it for year after year after year, and you just showed up. And I nearly didn't get one. Like I was tied, but the trick that tied me, it shouldn't have tied me, but it did.
I can't remember because Travis did the double, you did the Cliffy. Oh man,
Rabo did an underflip knack one hander, which is pretty impressive. But they said they scored me less because I hit the super kick arm. And then Nate did a no-handed flip to no lander without touching the bars. But it's not. Yeah, I mean, that's scary.
Well, this is, I think, a theme with yourself, as in, I think a lot of the stuff you've done, like the 360s. When did you start doing threes off 75?
I did 40. Like, same night that I did a cliffhanger flip, I did a heel.
You did a heel
three.
kicker flip. That's right.
Heel kicker
Yeah.
3 off 45 foot, and then I kind of stopped doing it. I probably did 10 threes off 75 before I went to dirt.
Yeah.
Maybe 10
In the pit.
10, 15 max.
I can't imagine threes in the pit being a lot of fun.
And nothing in a foam pit's fun,
No.
especially off 75, because you just go from so much
It's-
forward momentum to
to
a dead
nothing.
stop. Yeah, I think, like, I built my own pit, and sadly I listened to Cam's advice. He said, oh yeah, Torres's foam pit's got really, really soft foam. Like, he used like and I think I bought like $10,000-$15,000 worth of foam blocks,
Yeah.
and the guy's like, what grade do you want? Like, how firm? And Cam's like, yeah, get the softer stuff, That's what Torres has. And like,
So you're just blowing through it
like
when
you land,
yeah.
like you could squash it with your hand. Like the blocks you could squash with your hand. So you figure you could land it on a dirt bike off 75 foot. Like you basically just went through the whole thing. It was
Oh, man.
compacted.
Yeah.
And it was
Because your foam pit had a roof on it, though, didn't it?
yeah,
In
it just slid off towards the back. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I elevated the ground as well, the floor level to let air under it, because otherwise people just put tires down, it just goes moldy.
Oh, they're full of snakes and God knows what.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the snakes. They stay in the bottom. But yeah, just to let the air go through it. Like I basically, like a house floor, you put stumps in, joy spares, and then instead of like chipboard down or whatever for the floor, I just put chain link fence so that it'd get air under it. But I mean, that meant there was less foam in it, and it was just a really hard pit to land in. So I didn't use it as much as I probably
You
should
probably
have.
thought you would have, yeah.
Yeah, I think the last time I jumped in at 75, I landed that hard, and I kind of landed where I did the time before, and the front sunk down. And I remember the front fender snapped. Front mudguard, sorry. Getting all American.
Well, hopefully we'll have international viewers here. So
the front mudguard snapped and like folded up, and it was resting against the front number plate next to my helmet, and my hand was next to the fork guard because the bike just stopped and I just speared forward.
Got smoked,
and just hit my hips on the clamps, and then just was like I said.
Yeah. So it's like at that point you're like, well, I've got it down and it's easier than going to the pit. Just get it done.
That was just like mess around in the pit. This was a couple of years later. I did a Deegan's pit off a US ramp on my Honda, and then went to that contest on the Gold Coast, King of the Coast, and just said, all right, screw it, I'll just give it a crack.
Wow, I forgot about those. I mean, that was before my time in Oz, but I remember King of the Coast. What was the other one? Narragin, was it? Revheads?
Yeah, Narragin Revheads. Yeah, I never went to that.
Never did that one.
But yeah, I don't know. I just did it, and then 75 threes just became.
So was it Nate then you, or Nate was the first, then you were the second?
I think Deegan did it first, and Deegan and Travis did it the same night.
Well, off the super kicker, I guess, but you guys were the only ones that really did it consistently off 75.
Nate just looked over his shoulder a lot. Still flip and kind of whipped.
His OG ones though, they were legit before he got knocked out a bunch, right?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. It's a fine line. With a flip, you can over rotate and under rotate. So let's just say 30% either way.
Yeah.
And get away with it. If you over rotate a bit much, you're gonna land on the back wheel, front end high, and slap the front end down. Just as long as you don't let the bars slip out your hand, you're good. But a 360, you land like 5%
either way
under rotated or 5% over rotated. That means your back wheel's not behind your front wheel. And you're either going to get a nasty head slap, which for me wasn't an issue, but for guys like Cam and Nate, Cam's been knocked out about like 20
far too many times.
Yeah.
Even before that double flip, right?
Like, yeah. He got knocked out 3 times in 3 days. That was
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Good old Cam Sinclair.
Yeah, he's a legend.
He's a character.
Love you, buddy.
I was going to get Sinks in soon too. I was contemplating having both you guys in at the same time.
Nah, he makes me answer his questions for him. Oh, no, you remember better than me. That's pretty much what he'd say.
Yeah, it's funny because you guys obviously... let's talk about that for a minute before we go back on the timeline. So, like, the south side, you guys have always sort of...
Yeah, we met at Dan Young Motocross Track, and that's where I met Bocker and the Mosiks and Cam. And basically, Cam and I went toe-to-toe with everything, like... He was the one that pushed me to do a bit more freestyle, and I was just like, I'm going riding, so what are we doing? We can do supercross or ramps? He's like, I'll do this today, and I'd
just tag along and
and then we rode 50s together. We did all the 50 stuff together, all the monster truck shows together, all the supercross freestyle demos together.
When you look at a geographical, because everyone knows you've got like California and you got Marietta and SoCal, and that's like the place to be. But if you look at Australia back then, you know, in a geographical area, you had like you and Cam.
Yeah.
You had Mosig, Keisha, Adam Monya. Adam Bailey.
Yeah, I was Bailey. I was riding with Bailey, Robbo, Howley, Benny.
Howley, even like Bogger and the boys. Like, there was such a core crew here. And again, this was before my time. I caught like the end of it when I got out here. But like pretty unique setting as far as like a lot of factory race. Like, you got the guy that promotes AusX Open and runs one of the bigger agencies for sport in the country, came out of that crew. You got like Cade and Keisha and that factory races,
good
careers, and then you and Cam having X Games success and doing all that. And really, if you look at it, with, you know, everyone's from 3 or 4 sleepy towns on the peninsula down here in the corner of you know, the country. It's bizarre almost. But that group, I guess, is what pushed everyone to do, like Bronny Holland. Yeah, Bronny's not with us anymore, but like, man, that whole
he was, you know, he's on his way to being a professional racer his whole life.
Yeah,
it's
he was one of the few guys who could beat me straight up on 85 when I lived here.
Yeah,
he was fast.
Yeah, he was fast.
But yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like such a core group you guys had.
And we've done pretty big things in the industry, so to speak. So yeah, and all in our own ventures, you know, like the stuff Bailey's doing now with Supercross. It's like how good Supercross was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, he's bringing that.
I missed the last one though. I was in hospital.
You know what's funny is we can talk. I literally just got to Marvel. And I was in the pits. It was like that.
Pretty sure everyone just got there. Nobody's seen it, but they were out the back, and then they seen me get water.
And then, you know, when you hear it and you're waiting for the to ride out.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear that. And I'm
there was no ride
and
out.
then next minute, everyone's Bilko just crashed, and everyone's running, and that was kind of the end of it, really.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like Brooksy was in the Bobcat, and he's like, I was pretty happy that he got up and walked off. I don't know how. I went 4 meters to the ground head.
That landing was fairly steep.
Yeah, I mean, I did come up short, but there was no margin for. There was no.
I remember doing the track walk and see. I think we texted about it, but your frame rails were just in the landing.
Yeah, I left a good imprint there. I think my head didn't even leave an imprint on the ground, but that's because it was like concrete. But yeah. So.
But yeah, like Bailey's doing that, and everyone's had, everyone's. I mean, Keisha, Mosey, everyone's kind of finished up their racing careers now, and Cam, I guess you could say Cam's part time.
Yeah, he's a part timer.
Doing his
drives a truck now.
That's right, he's doing his business.
Yeah, he's killing it. But he's still happy that the tours we do. He's married with 2 kids, so home life's good for him. So he doesn't want to travel all around the world continuously. So he just does this New Zealand and Oz Nitro stuff.
It's good. It's cool. It's cool that he's still involved with it, and it's a shame his house just got.
Yeah, I know. That's why I refurbished my place after plenty of years off, and we still haven't ridden there just because of all this rain.
Well, yeah, your joint sits super low. So as soon as it rains,
I mean, the landing's completely dry, but as soon as you land after, it's just straight through the puddles and mud. So
I used to go ride at Cam's a little bit a few years ago. It was fun, but yeah, the neighbour, no good.
He's not a very nice bloke. But anyway, that's another story.
But yeah, I mean, again, there's plenty of stuff I want to go back on, but like you're still going as far as your career. And I know, like, when you used to train at my gym back in the day, we kind of had some conversations, and you were like, oh, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to go. And,
and here we are.
You're still going. But this is the longest you'd have been home for a long time, hey?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't for this COVID stuff. I'd be back in America now because we had 7 Oz Nitro shows, and then I'd straight into a US tour.
So is basing yourself out of the States, I guess, number one, is America home or is Oz home?
I mean, they're both home. I mean, Australia's home for me, but I am a US citizen now. But
so you're a citizen. So say, like, when you eventually
when I retire,
yeah,
I'm coming home.
You'll be back here.
I'm coming home. Yeah, I couldn't live there for the rest of my life. No way. No. Especially Southern California. It's like the armpit of America. Yeah,
it's funny. You know what? Like, I went back there about 3 or 4 years ago, and I hadn't been there since I was there, like, living the dream. Doing the whole the ride and freestyle deal, and when I went back, I was like, wow, this place is a bit of a shithole, actually.
It's changed so much, because back when I first went there, like, that's when we had 5 rounds of Dew Tour, we had X Games, LG, Action Sports Championship, we had X Fighters that I wasn't doing, but still, that was like
that was the scene, yeah.
1 or 2 contests a month. So, like, you get up in the morning and it's like, okay, such and such is riding at Fice House, 2 people are riding at Deegan's, and 2 people are riding at Nate's. Like, there's 3 different compounds within a 5 kilometer
the best
radius.
Contest guys in the world.
Yeah, just like they do them, because I was weird. Me and Cam, when we used to go ride, we used to go somewhere, pack an esky and just spend a whole day and just like do a couple of hours, like look at video footage, go back and ride again. They just like get up, go ride for like half an hour, 40 minutes, and go home, and then come back and do an afternoon session. Yep. I'm like, oh, why don't you just ride for like 6 hours and smash it all out and like. Practice, watch the footage.
It's different over there, hey? Like,
yeah, I mean, they just had a different schedule and that, because they knew the weather was always fine.
Yeah, they could be. I guess you catch a day in Oz where it's not windy. It's like, all right, we got to ride.
Or it's not raining. Like if you're in Melbourne, okay, we got good weather. Like, we're going to make the most of it, and you ride all day non-stop, and because the next day you might ride for 4 or 5 days if it pisses down rain. So
sure.
Yeah, and I was just like, well, you guys finished riding already? Like, I was going to ride till lunchtime. They're like, no, we'll stop now, and I'm like. But then they come back that afternoon and drive back to the same spot. I mean, you drive around in circles. If you just like
stay in one spot,
right? Yeah, punched out an 8-hour day doing it. I'm not like that was just their way that they did it. But yeah, at that time there was 20 or 30 of us every single day riding at Fitzpatrick's and go over the jump.
Does that place still?
Yeah, he still got it. Like he went through a lot of stuff like Can do with his neighbour, but he just had to push it all back into the kind of the natural hills and stuff. But so now you go there and like. Everyone's old from that scene. Everyone that lives around there, like, Deegan's got his track for his kids, so he still rides a little bit. He has a ramp set up that I can fortunate enough to ride at. But the only other spots really matter is like Fice Place is gone, Twitch's practice place is gone, Fitzpatrick's always away with shows. So like now it's like, all right, you're not riding 4 or 5 days a week with everybody like you were.
Or even like going to the tracks over there. Like I remember being over there, and it was every day of the week there was a track open. It was just like the dream. You go on the
afternoon
Supercrosses,
tracks, under light tracks,
and
like
then
terrace and shit.
yeah, when I was back there, I think it was 16, like 3 or 4 years ago now, and it's like you're driving as far as you are in Oz to go to a track.
Yeah,
you're in the high desert or you're in freaking wherever,
yeah,
and you're like,
not.
it's not the dream like it used to be. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just older now and it's different.
Yeah, I think you just get old and over it.
No, yeah, you get jaded. I don't know what it is, but I mean, you got to live those glory years over there, which was it must have been a cool experience.
Yeah, it was cool, and like I said, we just you call a couple of people in the morning, like, "Where are you riding?" He's like, "I'm going to Feist." "Oh, I'm going to go to Deegan's," and you're like, "All right, shit, I got 2 options, and if I don't ride in the morning, I'll go."
Were they always cool with you? Like, because that's the other thing that kind of surprised me a little bit.
I didn't become a troopy. No.
Well, yeah, like you were never down with, even though a lot of that stuff is an act.
I
And
was down with the militia.
You
mate.
were down with the OG general, but you were clean shaven, little bake from Baxter. And
a funny story, yeah, because I was never getting tattoos. I mean, would you put a bumper sticker on a Bentley?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Nah.
I did. I regret a lot of them.
I'd just get stupid ones. I'd have Mr. Potato Head on my forearm. Right
you never
now,
took yourself that seriously.
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, no body up for me. I got one inside my lip. It says LTD, living the dream.
Yeah, I got one there too. I got one there too.
It's meant to fade off. Apparently, it doesn't.
Mine just looks like an absolute. Yeah, you can see a little bit of it, but.
Yeah, so I remember one time we were at Deegan's, and because Cam and I lived together, I'm like, yeah, he was Rockstar Metal Militia, and I'm Monster. Clean skin, whatever, and he was using the foam pit at Deegan, so I'm like, well, let's just take one van. You hit the foam pit. He was practicing doubles, and I'll ride the ramp. And then Deegan said at Feist and Twitch, he's like, oh, your buddy can't ride here, and they're like, oh, well, what do you mean? He's like, dude, it's the competition. But he never said that to me, but he was like,
he's piping up a little bit.
He's like, what's he like? What's he doing here? X Games is in a month, and he's over there practicing. It's your competition. Like, tell him to ride somewhere else. I'm like, all right, sweet. I mean, Cam's got to take his own car, and I'll go wherever. Yeah. But yeah, they were all fine. It was it's
because like I said, I know a lot of it would have probably been for the publicity and the cameras when Deegan was all like, militia, no one can ride here and all that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was so to speak. Like if he didn't like you, he wasn't gonna let you ride there.
Yeah.
But I know, like, yeah, Nate was cool a little bit. I put him in check once because he stayed at my house for a couple of months, and I took a trailer to the shows, and I bought him and Adam's bike and Jim McNeil's bike back to my place so they could ride during the week.
Yeah.
Because when they're it was like a 16-week tour in 06, and so they could only ride on Saturday, and Nate's used to riding 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And so I helped him out. They lived at our place. Like we had that many people living there. We ran out of tank water.
Wow, but, that's right. Well, it was one of the Krusty tours, wasn't it? I remember.
So they all lived there at my house, and then I got to America, and it was like a month before X Games. He's like, "Oh no, you can't really come over and ride. I've got 2 people." I said, "Mate, you
just lived at my house for how long?"
I dragged your bike halfway across the country every weekend so you could ride. I'm like, I'm coming over. I'll see you in half an hour, and just hung up and just showed up, just pulled up in the driveway, pulled my bike out, geared up, and he didn't say anything.
Nah.
But I'm like, yeah, if you come to my country and I help you out and let you ride and shit like that, then I come to yours.
You expect it in return, yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the questions I have is like, it seemed like such a cliquey scene over there back then.
It was a hard scene because at the same time, yeah, they'll let you ride there, but at the same but then I could never do anything in privacy. Like you do a new trick,
everyone knows about it.
Nate was watching me practice a bunch of times. Like he wouldn't ride, he'd just sit there or he'd have his roommate film it and then.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
So
it was a real the competition thing was real.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to keep anything under wraps. Like you had I could only practice at their places in front of all of them. So yeah, coming up to a contest, you knew who was riding good. Basically the whole scene was from there. There was a few guys from Reno, like Adam Jones, Mike Mason. But
their scene seemed cool back in the day. But yeah.
But in Southern California, I mean, you fight and it gets noticed with coming up to a contest. So. Yeah,
it was back when it was the hub of it all. Hey, so all right, getting back, you talked about the South Side thing, and then, so you start doing the 75s, 360s, that year after X Games, where you got the bronze medal.
Yeah, it was 06,
Yeah, 06, and then 07. Yeah, it snowballs pretty quickly after that. So you quit your job before X.
Yeah, it was about that year. I was a 4-year apprenticeship, 3 years with trade school, and I mean, even in my second year, I had so many days off going away for Krusty Tour and that.
Yeah,
and then my third year, I had to go in when the second years were there, and I think it was the last possible day at the end of my third year I finished the last book and I had something like 40 absences from there away on touring. But like the first year to me was easy. Like, you know, it's like a book that's meant to be worth 8 hours or something. Like, you'd knock it over in an hour because I'd been doing that stuff for years before. My dad had taught me a lot. So all the first year stuff is meant for people that have like never seen a machine shop. Never done anything. So like basically you could get ahead of time. You could get
through, but as it got more advanced, it was a bit more important.
Yeah, it slowed down a lot. That's when I'd go in when the second years were in. But I'd have my video camera and, you know, one time went in and like showing people doing flips on the weekend and dirt bike shit and everything, and then the teacher's like, nah, you got to sit in there and you're not allowed to have your video camera because you're distracting the rest of the class.
I can't imagine young Blake being a distraction.
Nah, not a distraction at all. Yeah, but I mean, it was for me, I'd sit there and watch it 50 times over.
Yeah, you're just trying to study, right?
Yeah. But just watching, like, if I went to a Krusty show on the weekend and I'd film there or something, I'd just
back in the old mini DV days. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a funny story. The first tour we went to, me and Cam made fake armbands and snuck in. We spent the whole night backstage. So I just stood out the front and waited for the. I think Luke Urek walked in and he was sparking up a bunger and he pulled his sleeve fell down off his hoodie and I seen he had like a red wristband. So I just went to the news agency and got red paper and cut it around and put it on a wristband.
The security ain't gonna double check twice. That's great.
Yeah, I walked around the whole show with my video camera and just in the change rooms, just killing it.
Did you guys do anything much with Urek? Because like he was OG like before you guys.
We hung out a fair bit when he was still in America. He was still going to America. It was like 07. Like Bronny was staying with me in 08, and you know we hung out a fair bit. He always went and stayed with Fice. So. But he was an awesome rider. Still was. He came back and did a bunch of shows with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he did Nitro a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because I was randomly like I rode a lot of Supercross with the Huntington Oz boys back in the day.
Yeah.
And Urek did a road for that team.
Yeah.
And I ended up spending like a bunch of time with him and. Again, just super surreal because when I was a kid, it was like Urek, Militia, and then it's like you're just hanging out with him at the track.
We went into the Docklands and when he won X Games, it's like, this dude's my hero.
Yeah, it would have been like, 01 or something? Like,
it was 01 or 02, something like that. Yeah, the Mad Mike came out and Carrie Hart had a T-shirt on in Texture. It said, no backflips, don't ask.
Yeah. Yeah, that was after he did that one and everyone wanted him, right? But all right, so, you know, pretty much from there, it goes... pretty full on for you. Like
it went full 07. Like I just exploded. I could do any trick I wanted at the click of a hands. Like did the rule flip, learn it within a couple of weeks from doing a Superman to looking straight down. So,
yeah, because were you the first guy doing that?
Yeah,
like the look through.
Yeah,
you did it at the Krusty tour, right?
Yeah, which is the worst thing I possibly could have done.
Because then everyone's
and because by the time I got to X Games, I was busted and. It got second and third, I think, and then
because Potter did it at Best Trick, right?
Yeah, it's like a year later, someone else did it. The next year I did a heel clicker 3, and I got fourth, and second and third were rule flips. I'm like that. I did that a year ago.
Well, again, that's something that I wanted to talk about because I feel like the point I was going to make earlier has come back around now. Is that your threes to me, like when Nate chilled his out, yours were probably the most legit in the world, as in you were looking over your shoulder and I don't know who else was doing them at that point, but
at that point there was pretty much no one. Now like Luke Ackerman's doing huge.
Yeah, he does some crazy.
Yeah,
crazy stuff,
he's obviously a lot stronger and he just muscles that thing around off the ramp and he gets a much flatter spin.
Did you see that natural terrain flip he did at that German thing?
He double flip natural. Oh, it wasn't natural.
Nah.
Yeah, I know.
180 foot, like had no part of pulling it around and just sat on the limiter and it rode out, but.
And he double flipped the dirt hit too.
That's right.
So that's impressive.
But yeah, I guess it was X Games 09, right? You're doing the 360 indies and
360
and you're doing that stuff and it's getting scored less than tricks you were doing years ago that were backflips and guys are doing backflip variations. It's I can't even comprehend doing a 360 indie. And that's gnarly trick. Should have won best trick.
Yeah, you just got to roll with the punches. I mean, that did suck because they told me when I did a cliffhanger flip that it was scored less because it was off a super kicker, and then old mate did the same trick he did the year before off a super kicker.
Yeah.
So did he?
Do you think it's because you weren't part of like the old boys club over there?
Nah, the one judge wrote the wrong score. Like got excited because he heard old mate was doing a new trick, and he because they had the 5 scores and they average them out, and they all had. Me in first, and the one dude scored this other guy so high that when they averaged out, it went to live TV, and it's like, can't change that now.
That was that, and that would have cost you a lot of money, right?
I did the math back then, a few weeks after, and it was about a $40,000 decision. Like the difference between gold medal prize money, sponsorship bonuses, and all that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I read somewhere it cost you more than that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably more than that. But I like you don't go there and think about how much bonuses you're going to get. Like,
nah,
you go
I
in
know
there with the eye of
that.
the tiger. But I was just bummed because I mean, there's only I think 3 people, maybe 4 now that have won freestyle and best trick in the same X Games. There's Travis, Mike Metzger, and I think Levi. And
Levi did it in 10 or
no, he did
11.
just recently.
Was it? Oh, yeah, that's right.
And maybe Pages. I'm not sure. No, I don't think he did. I think Pages did gold, silver. But yeah, that's
You'd have been in a small group of guys.
There's like 3 or 4 people that have won both in the same X Games, and I was like, yeah, someone's bad decision, wrong decision.
Cost you that
Just,
spot in the record books or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So like going back to what I said earlier about what I said about Jared being like having the highest medal count out of anybody, but like I said, step up's gnarly. I'd never touch it. I've got a better chance jumping under the bar. But like if you look at the record stats and now it says most motocross medals and like Jared's in front of Travis.
Yeah.
Like to me, Travis will always be king of X Games
and
freestyle because a 90-second freestyle run doing the gnarliest shit off the gnarliest jumps. Like I said, step up's gnarly, whip's gnarly. I can't whip to save my life. Probably sound a bit biased here.
No, that's bullshit. You can do good whips, man. Your 3-bounce whips are cool.
Yeah, it's average.
I mean, they're not like the new.
Yeah, but either way, just to get that credibility to name, you won X Games gold medal, but to win a freestyle X Games gold medal in a 60 or 90-second run or multiple runs where you're doing the gnarliest shit over and over, it's just a little different to whip and step
mentality
up.
Where you've got to, because that course in 09 where you won gold, that was one of the gnarlier courses they had, I think.
Yeah, that had step on,
that step down,
off,
and you were doing 3s off the step down. That
08, that's when I nearly died on the step down. I did.
Was that 08? Sorry, and it just stopped rotating. You just sat on the limiter. I remember that.
I cased the jump in, and then I just pinned it, and I just pulled too early because it wasn't going fast enough, and it was pretty flat. It was a good 3, but I'm lucky it was a step down. I had that little extra time
to pull it around. Yeah.
But yeah, so to me, it's like to win those contests is 10 times gnarlier than. Like I said, no disrespect, but to win a step up or a whip,
back in the day there wasn't all those events either.
Yeah, I know, but now with all the X Games and that and freestyles has been skipped at a lot of them. The medal counts kind of bounce around, but I don't think that Travis should always be at the top of the most freestyle gold medals.
Yeah, regardless of the count.
Yeah, I mean, like Ronnie Renner's the same. Like he's won step up so many times, and he's awesome at it, incredible. Like, but if that's what the record books say, but. As far as if you're a rider and you know what it takes. Yeah. But I said, like, no disrespect to Step Up. I can't do it to save my life. It scares the shit out of me. I don't want to do it. Those guys are amazing. But
I think Jared, like, and that's a cool little segue, is that he was the next generation that came up under you and Cam.
Yeah.
And
we bullied him, we coached him.
Yeah, it must be cool for you guys to see where he's at now. Like.
Yeah, I remember saying to him back, I think it was like Krusty Tour when they shaved his head in the change room and he went absolutely ballistic. And I said, look, you're going to have more medals than both of us one day.
So just earn your stripes now.
Yeah, I mean, we picked on him a little bit, but at the same time, we were coaching him. We were trying to get him to flip.
Because it took him a long time to figure the flip out.
Like he did like 10 perfect in my foam pit right there. I'm like, well, come on, let's take it to dirt. And he just every time he just wouldn't do it. And like then me and Cam there, you little pussy, you little bitch. Yeah, like but, it's like a little brother thing. You're revving him up because you know he can do it. And
he was so talented on a bike, racing, Supercross, so good.
I'm like, you're doing it right there in the foam. Like, you're perfect. You're good. Just
do it.
You just need to man up and do it. And I know that's the thing. It's like a little brother thing. But yeah, to see where he's come now, it's amazing. Like
and I think that's because of you look at X Games now. Like my boy, he's like 2. He loves watching anything on YouTube. I just punch it on and we just sit on the couch and. It was 18, 19, 20, like X Games, whatever year it is. I just put it on and we'll just watch it hanging out before we put Paw Patrol on or whatever. And I think 18, there was no Americans in the freestyle.
No, there wasn't. It was 5 Aussies and Tucker, a Japanese rider.
Like Adelberg, Levi, not that Levi's Aussie, but he's New Zealand.
Close enough. He wishes he was Aussie.
Who like Jacko, and all those boys came up under you guys.
Yeah, there were Sheeny, Jacko, Harry,
Sheeny,
Elderberg, Levi, and Tucker.
Yeah.
Not one American. And Pages, and not one American in the whole field. No, Pages.
Is
I
it
think
because
Pages pulled
the
out.
Aussies are the only ones crazy enough to keep elevating the... Because, I talked about this, and again, like, this is the interesting thing for me, is when I moved to Oz, I was still technically a freestyler, right? And I'd just come off of doing the stuff in the States, but not the level you were at, not at all. But I got hooked up with the Tourading crew.
Yep.
And so I got a bike and I bought it for Franks and Yamaha. I ended up getting hooked up with Russ, and I went out there to ride. And in America, like the scene I was in, everyone was doing, we were doing the Monster Jam demos and IFMA, and it's like they were working class freestylers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were just getting by, but they still did it as a job, you know what I mean? And then when I got to Oz, you go out to the local spot on a Saturday, there's a foam pit there, and these guys that are like you were, full-time tradie, full-time workers, and they're just sending it, doing big stuff. And it actually was the reason I got out of it, because I was like, the scene over here is really different. These guys are doing it because they really love it.
Yep.
And they're chasing that adrenaline as opposed to like other spots in the world. I think it's a little bit more of a...
It's just so gnarly now that, I mean, there's really no motivation, and it probably is a bad thing to say, but for an up-and-comer now that he's like, oh, I want to do that, I want to compete, like the amount of like financials and just all that stuff you have to commit to it, building a foam pit, like you can't compete these days unless you have an airbag or a foam pit.
Yeah.
So just even to get to that step, like you can practice in your backyard and stuff, you need land, you need a place to build a landing and stuff, and then if you want to go even bigger, but still like you're not getting recognised now because... Like there's no contest for us. There's no platform for us to perform. Like there's
the barrier to entry is a lot higher now, and I think that era of Aussie freestyles that came up under you, I guess they got into Nitro and X at the right time, and it kind of
but now like if you take away like Nitro or whatever, like what other shows are there? Showtime does a lot, but that's 2-3 riders employed for the year.
Yeah.
Like, what is there apart from that? There's not.
There's very little, right? And it's the same in the States. Like,
there's a lot of shows going in the States, but I mean, the money's like a tenth of what it used to be. But I mean,
well, I know the money I used to make doing, what we were doing over there, and it would have been nothing compared to what you guys are on. But you used to be able to get by on it, but I feel like now it seems to be completely different.
And so now that's why a lot of people like it's not worth the risk for. Basically,
So what's your opinion of where the freestyle industry is at as a whole? I mean, it seems like you said, barrier to entry is really high.
Yeah, and I think obviously you look at X Games now and freestyle for years, it's once they stuffed it into Staples Center and just had 2 ramps and that, it kind of went a little downhill. And then we thought, we're going to Minneapolis. I wasn't competing, but I went to Austin and it was terrible. It was in the wind.
That's right. I remember those years. Yeah.
So then they didn't even have freestyle.
That's the year Cam was. I remember being at his place. He was doing the quarter flare.
Yeah, to hit his head on that one.
He didn't even get close. I remember that. That was rough.
Yeah. So then and went to Minneapolis. And we're like, it's going to be indoors with a big stadium. They might actually, build a proper course again. But same thing, like 2 75-foot ramps and a super kicker.
And for you guys that had come from them big courses, that must be so demoralizing when you're like, there's nothing to separate me as far as skill, right?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing. Take like Pages' runs insane, but like he's in a league of his own. Like and Levi was in a league of his own.
But could he do all that crazy shit off 120-foot ramps and dirt hits? It would be a little different, right?
He would still do enough off those, and then he would do enough off those where his other tricks he'd just fill in. So he could no doubt he could do it, but it went to Minneapolis, but it takes up so much floor space. But I see it as now like the last time they had 6 people in the whole contest.
Yeah, so where does it go from here?
I think freestyle, my honest opinion is probably will be out of X Games soon. They'll just have the best whip and quarter pipe.
Yeah, anything that has interaction with the crowd, sort of.
And it's so much. It's like step up and quarter pipe, so easy to understand. Old mate jump this high. Oh, it's sweet. Like freestyle, the fans now just they haven't been following the sport for years or whatnot. There's the group of small hardcore ones, but if you're in the crowd at X Games, you got no idea what's going on. As far as if a guy does a 60-second run and you're like, huh, like I kind of didn't understand why that was better. It's too much, and then a judge's score comes up like. It's
Yeah.
not easy to follow. Like Step Up, you may either make it over the bar or you don't. And
Yeah,
I think that's
true.
one of the highest rating shows they have.
That's what I hear as far as engagement with the audiences on socials and TV.
Yeah.
Like Step Up kills it, and Best Whip, pretty easy concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Like do a bigger
same
whip.
thing. So yeah, and it's quick. It's over in quick 5 minute jam and then a shorter one after. Like it's action, it's in your face, it's all there. Like freestyle, when there's a bit of a downtime between each run, and then someone goes out, and then you're like, oh, I kind of look what the other guy did. Oh no, he scored way more. Oh no, yeah, it's
Kind of the
just a
same
hard
as
thing.
like trying to tune into a supercross race when you don't know what it is. It's not easy.
Yeah, why is he on a yellow bike? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to follow, and I just think with freestyles obviously been on a down tangent, a lot of bad luck with weather. When they did
Well, I think like as far as events go, like you say, it's either ramp to ramp. The riders don't like it if you're doing anything. I mean, even the Nitro World Games, they were doing the big ramp to ramp courses, and that to me just looked pretty gnarly. Like,
yeah, I mean they're consistent, but like it was just weird just riding a contest to a
portable.
to a wooden landing.
Yeah,
because especially with 360s, because at least with dirt, if you land sideways,
It's gonna grip a little
it's
bit.
get a little bit of bite. But if you land sideways on a portable, you just slide out.
Game over. But so here's what I think, right? Like, I don't know. You see, remember skateboarding in the 80s? I mean, not that I really remember it, but
Yeah.
you hear about it. It was just exploded, right? And then it died, and now it's made this resurgence. Like, I don't know what the FMX resurgence is going to look like.
I'm not sure. They're financially and everything like that. They're not going to bring back big courses.
No,
it's just
that era's gone.
Yeah, there's like with outside support or whatever, and X Games and stadium hire or whatnot. They're not just going to turn around and go, righto, let's bring back a huge soccer stadium or football stadium and build a huge gnarly.
The GFC put pay to that along with everything else.
Yeah.
But, so, all right, if it's not going to make that contest resurgence, is the new model, and I mean, we can get into it, not specifics in dollar amounts, but for you, the majority of your income would be the Nitro Circus contract and then obviously Monster and your other sponsors.
Yeah.
But, they've obviously changed your contracts to not revolve around competing anymore, right?
It was a few years ago, and I just said, look, I'm not going to double flip. Like I'm basically, I wouldn't say I said I'm not done competing, but I'm not going to X Fighters, and I'm not going to like risk it all to try and learn a double flip now and the potential of just getting hurt again. I'd rather be at every event all year. I think it was after I did that, there was a period of, because the 5 years before that, I was spent at least 6 months a year injured, like having surgery.
Yeah, it was pretty much like you'd go to an event or train for an event and either win or bust.
Yeah, I pretty much my whole first 5 years of my career, I'd either end up on the podium or in an ambulance, and then that went on until 2011 was the worst because I crashed the night before at X Games, and it wasn't even a bad crash. I just slid out on a 360 at Parlour, the place we were practicing, and it blew my knee out.
Did the ACL again?
Yeah, and it just was like the size of a football, so I couldn't ride. And yeah, that was the worst. I watched Nate win, and I was really pissed off. But yeah, after that, I did speed and style, but that was the only thing I competed.
Oh, that was a cool little deal for a few years. Hey,
yeah, that was rad. But I said to him, I'm not going to go do XYs and double flips and all this. Like my FMX competing days of being a podium guy, that's I don't want to risk it. So
and they were open to work with you.
They were fine with that. I said, look, I'm still going to trouble my ass off and be at pretty much every event.
Just go a little close to the mic.
Yeah, a bit far away. Just.
Well, I know you struggle to sit still, so we'll try and wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm a bit antsy.
I can see you starting to get fidgety. Yeah.
I ran out of water too.
Oh.
Need a beer. No. So yeah, I just basically, like Nitro at that point had a lot of shows. I mean, it kind of sucks with everything that's going on now. Obviously, we've got none, but
because it was like crusty, and then that finished, and then I think at the same time you were heavy into the competing scene.
Yeah.
Then that kind of wound up, and then you guys would have stepped straight into the Nitro
the
world tours,
we did
right?
were insane. Like I think 2017 was probably my busiest year. I did 52 shows, which is, if you average that out, it's one a week. But I mean, some of those we'd spend a month in Europe and we'd do 15, 20 shows over a month living on a sleeper bus.
Like
and as bad as that sounds, the sleeper buses are amazing.
full rock and roll spec, like
yeah, well,
the tour
no,
buses,
because the
know?
rock and roll guys, right at the back of the bus, there's like a big lounge, like where there's a bunch of seating. When the rock and roll guys go on those buses, they get the big double bed, it's like a
the actual house.
Yeah, it's like a little villa at the back, like a little bedroom suite at the back. So when all us peasants get on there, they just change all
convert it.
Yeah, so they pull it out and they just put a big lounge there with 2 TVs and
then you guys are crammed like sardines into bunk beds.
Yeah, the European buses are amazing. They're 2-story and they sleep 16 and there's enough room for 15 people to sit downstairs and 15 people to sit upstairs. So you're never short of room. But in America, they're single story. They sleep 12 and like the back lounge fits maybe 5, but all your knees are touching in the middle. And then the front lounge fits 5. So there's like,
it's just dudes fighting on each
yeah,
other.
do you want to watch a movie? Oh, I'll jump in and watch that. And some dude just squeezes you next to like fracker with a bag of chips, just with his elbow on you and just all over you.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to watch a movie in bed. And you get in your bed and there's a DVD player that folds down from the roof. I'm like, I don't know who uses DVDs anymore.
I guess they're a bit outdated, right?
Yeah, and then the whole thing rattles and clunks along the road. But anyway, we could talk for hours about bus stories. But
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I won't even touch the tour stories that I'm sure you've got because there's probably a lot we couldn't even bring up.
Yeah, no, leave that out.
Yeah, we'll leave that out.
No, but it's fun. But yeah, like being on tour for that long, like I said, like 52 shows in 2017. I think my last one was OzX Open, and it was awesome. Got to come home and finish the year off in Oz.
Yeah.
I might have gone to Abu Dhabi after it, but yeah, I was in South Africa, India. We did New Zealand. We did a bunch of shows in Oz, and then a shitload in North America. So it's Canada and as well. And yeah, it was just non-stop.
Yeah.
Like the worst thing is America when you try and fly because they've all got these central hubs like LA Airport, Atlanta, Dallas.
Yeah.
So
and then
obviously the shows we do are not in those major cities. So every week's like one flight, 3 flights to get to your destination. So you're doing 6 flights in one weekend.
Yeah, it's not like flying to Sydney or Adelaide.
Well, Australia's got their major cities, and then most of the cities where we do shows, there's either a flight there or it's an hour drive from a certain airport. But yeah, over there, you're like, oh, we're going to this city. And if I want to go to Los Angeles airport, it's probably...
You don't ever want to go to Los Angeles airport.
Basically, you just summed it up. Yeah. It's about an hour and 20 drive with no traffic, which is great at 9 o'clock, and you can do 100 mile an hour.
But very rare.
But if you have to get a morning flight, like give up. You're going to take 3 to 4 hours in traffic to get there, and then you'll fly from one city to the next and still have a second flight. It's just easy to go to a smaller one and have 3 flights for the day.
Yeah,
it's like a 12. I went to the East Coast one time and I worked it out. I could have been from my house in California. I could have been at my house in Melbourne quicker than I went from California to like Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the West Coast is a horrible hub to fly out of. I mean, back in the day, you used to be able to go to San Diego and get to a lot of spots, but they've changed that now.
Yeah, you either go to Phoenix or you either go to Dallas, and then I don't know. It's just like a hop, skip, and a jump to go anywhere, and then they're always delayed. They always lose your bags, and you miss a connecting flight. Then they
suspension gets lost and whatever.
Give you a hotel voucher to stay at some shithole for the night, and then you come back in the morning and do your last flight. That happened like 4 weeks in a row. I spent like 4 weekends in Dallas and just at the airport hotel because we were delayed and we missed our connection to the little shit town we were doing a show.
It would drive you crazy, but the joys of tour life, right? But all right, so where you're at now in your career, Nitro's a big part of it.
Just killing it, mate. Yeah, just killing it. Living the dream.
Sleeping on your mattress of money and everything,
Nah.
But, just kidding. But as far as the future goes, like you got, this is because I know you've done a bit of radio stuff over here as far as.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of got the gift of the gab. It's just.
And you've done some presenting with OzX, and you did the celebrity V8 supercar deal. So it's like, what? Not that I want to put you on the spot, but like, what's the career plan when free? But what are you now? 30?
You put me on the spot. Nah, 35.
Is that it?
Yeah,
I thought you were.
I'm like 16 in the brain, 35 in the heart, and 60 at the knees.
Yeah, the knees would get you.
Yeah.
So I thought you were older than that. I'm 32.
I don't act it.
Nah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got you got Haley, your partner.
We're meant to get married in a couple of weeks, but that got canned.
Oh, you were? Wow.
Yeah, we're going to Bali for a wedding, but that all turned to shit.
Bali wedding. That's what I was planning. I think we might do that next year if we.
Yeah, I don't think you want to go there anytime soon. It's a bit of a shit show over there because they rely heavily on tourism. So everyone's running out of money and they're all looting and robbing.
No way! I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I was there last year. It's a good time. You just get a nice villa.
We pretty much had everything planned, and then
did you have it booked?
Yeah, I paid everything.
Oh,
we
you
went there like a
didn't.
week before everything shut down. We flew there between shows to like meet the villa people and the planner and like finalize everything. Like signed, sealed, delivered. We're ready to go. She's got her dress. I got my suit, and then all this shit happened. So,
Oh, wow, that's awful.
but anyway, it is what it is. Probably
Well,
just saved her another.
She'll make an honest man out of you eventually.
Yeah, but anyway, she gets another year off before she's tied to me. So,
Hey, so
blessing in disguise.
you got the sausage dog.
Yeah.
Any kitties coming soon?
Nah, I gotta sit still first. Like as far as America, Australia,
So that'll happen after, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, like I've got another couple of years riding shows, but
So are you like contracted with Nitro through to a certain time?
no, there's no, and especially right now, there's no long term contracts with. I wouldn't imagine with any form of work or sport that
the motorsport has been hit in
or just
events
anything
in general.
Yeah, I'm talking regular stuff. Like there's a lot of things where people have lost businesses or work or whatnot. So anything long term.
It's probably not the most upbeat time to be doing this, but it's probably the only time I'd catch you in the country long enough to do it. So,
but yeah, like what I'm saying is, like most people, you had a bit of security of what you were doing for a couple of years. But right now, like we have 4 or 5 planned shows in September for Nitro, which
may or may not happen.
May or may not happen, depending on what state they're in, and depending on whether the people will still show up or what. Haven't even looked at where the cities are, like what states they're in and what's there, because there's 50 states over there.
Yeah, it's just weird. Some states are open for business. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Some states are completely locked down.
So I don't know. That's here. But either way, the what you were getting at is probably like this year, next year. And obviously I don't want to be doing backflips forever. The body doesn't want to do that forever. I'm still fortunate that I can still ride a show and be I wouldn't say.
Well, you've been riding.
I'm never going to be the best out there. Like you got Harry and Cheney and all those guys that absolutely kill it. But I'm consistent. Like,
no, but you've been riding at a high level for so long that your base riding level is pretty high, right?
Yeah, just not in the whip comp. I get embarrassed by Vicky Golden. She smokes all of us.
She does big whips though.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah, it's more. I've noticed over the years, it's not how good of a rider you are, like by yourself. It's being able to adapt to like the Nitro bomb or doing trains without running up someone's ass, or like some dudes, they get their 2-stroke and they click it in a second and they need 30 feet to run up, and then they need to accelerate, then pop the clutch twice to make sure it's revving and then hit the ramp. Like shit, I can start in first gear with 20 feet of run up, or you can give me 400 feet of run up and have a guy on a 500cc in front of me and he'll slow right down before the ramp.
Yeah.
And you just need to
adapt. I think
adapt.
bike skills go a long way in those environments.
Yeah. So nowadays I'm like, I didn't used to care where I was in the train. Like 07, just bust out a rule flip and look forward, and there's like 3 people in front of me. And you're like, yeah, whatever, that's all good. Now I'm like, put me in the front, I'll lead it. I know when to take off, and then as soon as I land, I literally like do a trick land and then just go and give it a little throttle blip and just turn like just hard right.
Yeah.
I remember one year at Melbourne, they had the they call the Trigana, the triples, the 3 BMX doubles on the right, and Rod Laver's tiny already.
It's small,
When we go 3 wide, you're riding out of a corridor where you can't go 3 wide, so the guy in the middle has to like sit back, so his handlebars are basically in the other guy's back. So like my front brake lever and my clutch lever were in Travis and Cam's back when I was sitting in the middle, and then they just peel out as soon as the stadium opens up, and I accelerate through the middle so we can jump side by side.
A lot of trust, eh?
So yeah, we had that. Yeah, they're like, all right, you guys do like a 12-rider train, and then there's the quad bike, and then the snowmobile coming after that. Like you crash a quad bike, you crash a dirt bike, it just falls over. Like if old mate comes off the quad, that thing
thing's keep moving.
Yeah, so I'm in the front, and then it used to be just the Giganta ramp on the left, and now freestyle setup. And then when they added the BMX triples, they landed, and there was like a padded wall basically at the base of their landing. So they were hitting that and spearing off and dropping their bikes on the resi landing after our jump. And then all the bikes were on the other side, and I'm just landing. I'm doing a U-turn, and there's like bike. I'm just looking at the quad, looking at the snowmobile. I'm like, just get me out of this way.
I don't want to be in the way of this thing.
Yeah, because even the snowmobile, it's probably slow down a bit quicker than the quad. But yeah, my main thing was the quad, because old mate would flip it and he'd hold it on the limiter. So if he'd come off that thing, it's already in second gear. The back wheels are doing about 80 mile an hour. And
you don't want to be anywhere near that thing.
Yeah, it'd just plow into the wall.
It's a lot of bike right there.
Yeah, so I just tried to turn, but when they had that extra ramp, there's BMXs flying out the way and shit, and like they're all running off from their ramp because they're getting out of the way of the guys over there, and then it's just shit scattered everywhere. So, yeah, I lead the trains now.
You get that. What's the word? With age comes the seniority or something.
No, age comes the cage. That's when you get a roll cage. But
yeah. So you see yourself like moving on, like you got some more years in you. I'm sure you're always going to be involved in doing shows and being around it, but eventually there'll be something next. Like, do you have a segue plan to because like you got
it's such a hard plan, but I mean, as far
I know
as
it evolves organically, but like you got good socials, and that's a big part of any platform nowadays.
yeah, it's definitely a huge factor compared to what it used to be. But I mean, yeah, four wheels for me would be awesome, but I don't actually see it being any kind of a career or like a paying career.
Yeah.
Because four-wheel stuff's so expensive.
You don't think Monster's going to put you in a car next to Cam Waters or something?
Nah, no. I need a lot more practice before that. So yeah, it'd take like what I did with dirt bikes back in the day, like a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of financial input on myself to do it. And I've done that a little bit in America. Like I spent money racing rallycross. I'm fortunate enough now Yokohama pays for the car stuff I do, but it's little dribs and drabs, little events here. Like they're still decent events, but it's not going to turn into like I'm going to get a NASCAR deal. Or any car. Like I'm never going to make it V8 supercars. That's no way. I'm just race it on the simulator. So yeah, it's think about stuff other than that, announcing, commentating, and things like that. So yeah, like I'm having fun with the four-wheel stuff, but I'm still
you're aware of where it's at.
I'm aware that I'm not just going to slip into a paid drive somewhere and keep doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, the motorsport model is not. It's not, especially in the car scene, it's completely different. But no, I guess it's just interesting because obviously, like you have had. Maybe outside looking, it looks that way, but I feel like you've had quite a methodical career and it's been planned out. And you've had longevity because of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, where
you got to know when it's.
You got to know when it's.
Yeah, like I know, I'm just lucky we have so many shows with Nitro, and like shit, I've already done 330 shows with those guys since 2010. So. Yeah, it's been a decade of touring with those guys, and
jeez, has it been 10 years already?
Yeah, 2010 was the first one. I mean, and so if the world back goes back to normal, they had plans for a lot of shows next year, but with everything that's going on, like shit, if they do 5 or 10 shows next year, that might be the only thing I do on a dirt bike as far as events.
True,
so that's a real slap in the face, awakening call. Like shit, if you're only going to do 5 or 10 shows next year, where are they going to be? Is it even be worth it? Like. What does Monster think about that? So, but again, social media, you got to keep up with all that. So.
It's a dynamic environment changing, right?
Well, I mean, the whole world's changing at the moment, so that's the scary thing.
Don't even get me started on that. Like it's bizarre where we're at.
I think we talked a fair bit already.
Yeah, but I guess we'll leave it there, mate. Because I said I know.
You can do a version 2 if you want.
I'd love to. I mean,
you can play it back and talk about all the lies I just told.
Yeah, we'll
point him out.
We'll point you on the record.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you coming in, man. Like I said.
Yeah, thanks for having me and hear about all the shit I've done over the years. I just basically bragged about how good I was the whole time,
That's what we expected, but because like you're actually pretty elusive as much as you're like.
I definitely talk it up here and there. I still claim.
But when you can wrangle you to do it, but like when you're at home, it's just like you're at home and you're doing your thing.
I like being at home now. What do you want to do? I'm like sit on my own couch for a couple of days because I don't sit on them. I sit on airport chairs and then sit at this airport for 6 hours, and then I sit on a little puddle jumper for 2 hours, and I go to another airport for 2 hours. I'm like, that's the weekend for me.
Like,
I'm like,
what's your idea of a good time? Is like just staying in my house.
I want to stay home for the weekend.
It's tough. Like I used to be like that. Like before we had the family and stuff. It's like you get home and you just want you don't get that luxury anymore when you got a kid. They're just like Monday morning.
I'll find out one day.
Yeah, you will. Well, you got the sausage dog. They're still.
Oh yeah. I got a little lesson in parenthood, and she got through the bin and ate the whole chicken carcass, the whole skeleton. And so
babies don't do that.
I know, but I had to watch it for 2 days to make sure
the bones
didn't get stuck, but she shit them all out. But still, in saying that, that's probably the same thing that happens when you could get sick. You got to look after it for the whole day.
It's a change up, but it's definitely like you said. When I got
to mature a little bit, maybe. We'll see.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for your time, and
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
We're doing the handshake. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. That was a handshake, guys. Just in case you didn't know. Did you hear the
friction
there? Yeah. So I know you guys can't see it, but it was a handshake.
All right, guys. Blake Bilko Williams on the Inside Dirt Show, and great interview. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, man.
I don't mention the handshake thing because I think it's illegal still.
We'll probably cut that bit.
You're into bump elbows.
We'd do that.
Bump uglies.
All right, guys.